Hey everybody, welcome back to Oval Window Racing as we're in Oval Window Garage. And as you can see, we're down to one engine stand. Yes, I got the short block together here on the buggy engine build, and I have to say, I'm really liking this flat satin black paint that I put on here. It was something that Rust-Oleum makes, one of their high heat resistant paints. Yeah, it's by Rust-Oleum. It's their high temp paint. Got a picture of a manifold on there, so yeah, it's designed for headers. What we're going to talk about today is I'm getting ready to install this deep sump. And I got a trick to share with you guys. I like sharing the tricks with you guys. But the only way this trick is really going to work is if you are running a deep sump. So yeah, let's get the engine flipped over here and I'll show you what I'm working on. Now the trick here requires, like I said, an extension on your extension tube. And instead of using a hose clamp here, I like to actually go and weld it. Something I've started doing post building this engine the first time. You guys haven't been following along. I originally built this engine 20 some years ago, and yeah, I just did the hose clamp thing on it. And when Brian broke off the deep sump off of it, he lost the original extension that was on there. So I had to find one, and yeah, of course, I did the welding trick. And before we get going too much further, I really recommend adding the deep sump as you're building the engine. Because one of the things with this stud right here, there's really no way to get this stud out of the case because it is actually bolted with a nut on the back side. And as you can see, you know, there's not much room in there to even get a wrench. You can't even see the nut. So what I did is I actually, this stud is actually a little on the long side, so I just kind of backed it out, you know, took some measurements, and it should be good to put a nut on this side. But I do have a video. It is my most popular video on my channel, and that is how I like to install one of these things. I'm not going to go over the installation on this today, but I will try to remember to link it down or put it at the end of this video. So if you guys are kind of interested to see how I do this, you know, go check the video out. But basically, this is a pretty simple mod that I install on here, but what it requires is the use of what they call the cow magnet. That's what this big long thing is here. It's a very strong magnet, and for some reason they use it in the bovine industry. I guess it's so when cows are out grazing in the field and happen to swallow some metal, they get stuck to this instead of getting lodged some other place in one of their four stomachs. But this is recommended. It's one of the things that Berg Enterprises has on their website, and I'll put a picture up here of the product with the part number and the price. I'm trying to remember how much this was, because what I did is I went and found this. This is another cow magnet, and it's just a little bit different style than the Berg one. To give you a little helpful hint here, I found this at TSC, and it was in the veterinarian aisle, not in the hardware aisle. So yes, this is designed for cows as well. It actually comes with 3 magnets packaged here. Here's the package, and it was $11.99. Of course, you got to pick up the hose clamps. I think these were like $1.49 a piece, so I bought 3 of them, so now I can do 2 other engines. Yeah, it looks like Berg lists it for $10.72 on their website if it's available. And of course, you're going to have some shipping involved in there. I did see these available on eBay too. And what I do like about this one here, the one that Berg actually has pictured, I don't know if this is what they send to you now, because I didn't order, like I said, I didn't order from Berg. I got mine from Tractor Supply Company. But this is one piece, where this one seems to be several pieces. And the reason I say that is because it does worry me. I did take an engine apart a few years back. Another friend had run for a while, and he did this trick too when he went to the hardware store and got his magnets. And he got those square magnets. I hadn't seen them in a while, and I used to have a couple lying around here. I used some welding and stuff, but I did notice if you dropped them, they broke. And when I took his engine apart, he had it like 3, well, I think there was 3 of those magnets, you know, strapped to this tube. And I don't know if it was a process of cranking down the hose clamp or just the process of the engine vibrating. They were all breaking up and coming apart. So it was a good thing that, you know, we got into his engine when we did. So yeah, that does worry me that this one's in several pieces, but I guess there's one way to find out how well this will work, and then let's drop it. You know, I tried to break it here. I dropped it on the counter a couple of times and tried to unscrew it. Does not seem to come apart, because I'm thinking the shiny silver things are the magnet, and what's in the middle here is steel. Because I did take another magnet It does get pulled to the magnet there, of course. Let's flip it over and see. It does seem to want to stick in the center, but since the magnets want to pull each other together, it doesn't want to find home there. But yeah, let's go over here and drop this, see what happens. Looks like it stayed together. That's a good sign. So I will be installing this one in Brian's engine today. He'll be the guinea pig. Now the pros to using, this magnet, this giant magnet, is it is strong. And I'm going to demonstrate how strong this is. Actually, I kind of want to do a test between this one and the other one to see which one is stronger, because I am curious. Let's go grab a let's try a 15 millimeter box end wrench and see how well these magnets will pick that wrench up. All right, I lied. I grabbed a 17 millimeter wrench. I'm going to put this tape measure here and see if we can get an idea. We'll start out with the new one first. We'll just bring this down. Hope I want to stick to the magnet, to the tape. And let's see if we can figure out when it'll pick it up. That was pretty close to the ground. I was actually hoping it would actually pick the wrench up, but it got pretty close. Let's say we're within a 1/2 inch. Let's try the Berg magnet. See if this one's any stronger. This one actually pulled my hand towards the wrench. I may need to brace myself here. Let's try to brace myself. It'd be better if I try a smaller wrench. Let's give the 13 millimeter a whirl. Start out with the TSC magnet. Brace yourself. That one I almost got to get all the way to the wrench. Now the Berg magnet. Yeah, this will actually pick it right up off the ground before I even get to it. See that? So, the pro on the Berg one, I believe it is stronger than the TSC one. But like I said, they both are incredibly strong magnets. Now as I install this, I kind of talk about the benefits of running one of these starters. It's an incredibly strong magnet. I mean, yeah, you can put a magnet on your drain plug, which I actually run this Berg magnet trick, and a drain plug with a magnet on there. But this is going to catch a lot more. The only downfall is it only catches, I believe it's ferrous metals. It's not going to catch any aluminum, or for you guys on the other side of the pond, aluminium. And this can be installed, when the sump is on there. It's just much easier, and for filming purposes, easier to show you guys. But I like to use an 8 millimeter wrench, and of course, since you got more movement on here, you can drive it right down. But, this doesn't have to be super tight. Just tight enough to keep the magnet in place. Berg magnet is skinnier than this one I got from TSC. That's another benefit. The only downfall is you're unable to run a screen, or like the factory screen, with this magnet. As you can see, unless you maybe modify the screen somehow to get it to go over the magnet. But this is pretty much the same length as the tube. And I like to keep it as close to the opening as possible. There, that should hold it. Yeah, I know what you guys are saying now. What? No screen? I'll tell you, I've been running without one for years, but I'm not recommending it. Something that I do. You have to make it your decision whether or not you want to. Yeah, I had an old timer, back in the day said at higher RPMs, you can't suck enough oil through that screen, to keep the engine happy. Basically, it will wind up starving your engine of oil. And, we don't want that. But like I said, I'm not recommending not running a screen. You have to make up your own decision. They do make a one that does fit over the end here, basically just a guard, and that's just going to keep any debris that goes down in there. Brian is going to be running this at Silver Lake. When you start climbing up and down those hills, it's possible that you're going to see some higher RPMs depending on what type of a limiter you have on your engine for RPMs. And I will also point out that when I originally built this engine 20 years ago, he's been running it without a screen ever since. So did he get lucky? possibly. But like I told him, if I'm doing my job right, there shouldn't be any large debris in there. And I will say, in my lifetime, yes, I did suck up some debris before, and the magnet did not help. It was aluminum, and I'll explain. And if you guys watched the last video where I discussed the cam and how close the cam bolts on the straight cut gear runs to the oil pump, that's what I did wrong. It was in my early period of building engines, and that was one thing I did not check. Didn't know I needed to check at the time. Learning experience. We'll chalk it up to learning experience, but yes, I installed the pump without checking the clearance between the cam bolt and the oil pump, and I broke the back of the oil pump, and the majority of the oil pump is aluminum. And I wound up with large chunks going through the pickup tube, and that what happens then is I'll tell you what, I will show you what happens then. The oil enters here. Like I said, the debris entered there. That goes into the pickup, goes directly to the oil pump, and your oil pump sits right here. And what happens with the oil pump, the oil comes from here and comes out the hole right here, and it directly feeds the oil pump right here. And then what happens is your debris gets stuck in here, and it actually stops these gears. And what happens when those gears stop, you break this off. This is the drive, the keyway that goes into the cam keyway there. And when you break this off, of course, your gears aren't going to turn. And your gears aren't turning, you have no oil pressure. I'll show you something here. I do have a video on porting these oil pumps. This particular one came with a very small hole, but I went and actually ported out the oil pump, made the hole a tad bigger, not much, and made sure, of course, it lines up with the hole in here. This will help, feed oil a lot better. And not only, do I port that out, I also take this aluminum oil pump here, cover here. It might be hard to see in here. Oh, let's go the right direction. Actually took some material off of here in order to get the oil to flow into this a lot smoother and a lot better. Less flat edges in the system, the better it is. I mean, someone could probably sit all day long and go and, fine tune and massage all these pieces and parts too, if they wanted to have some time. But I got a Gene Berg cover here. Yeah, this is a old retired Gene Berg oil pump cover. I do, like the cast iron covers better than the aluminum ones. That came on Brian's engine, so that's what we're going to use. But you can see what they actually did here on their pump. They actually took some material out here and made this hole a little bit more radius. It helps, like I said, move the oil. I never even thought about looking at this when I was doing this. Could probably almost do that on there if you wanted. Now I know what the next question is. Clint, you're not running a screen. How do you filter your oil? That's where the full flow oil system comes in. An oil filter adapter looks like. This actually filters the oil 100%. So after the oil goes through the oil pump, comes out your pump cover, and then you basically run it over to your oil filter. And like I do, I actually have a oil cooler as well with a fan thermostat built into it. Then it comes back and it's routed back into the engine case here, and then through the engine, and then it starts the process all over again. There are some of those pump covers with a screw-on oil filter. Depending on which model you buy, those only partially filter the oil. Some of them, I think CB Performance does sell one. I'll try to link that down below too. That does filter the oil 100%. It's actually built into the oil pump itself. And I've never run one of those. I've always kind of set everything up with a full flow oil system because I like running that extra oil cooler because I try to do a lot of street driving. Well, to wrap things up, it's nice to run that extra capacity oil. I believe that's a 1.5 quart capacity oil sump, along with what's available in the engine. And then if you add up what goes through all the lines in the oil cooler and stuff, I believe I put close to 6 quarts of oil in my car versus, I don't know what it was, the factory, 2 quarts maybe 3. I might be able to look that up and see. Let me take a look and see. Yeah, I found it. It says right in here, and it says pour 2 and 1/2 quarts of fresh oil into your engine. So yeah, the stock engine holds 2.5 quarts. And I never really known before that there is a torque, not a torque spec, but a torque pattern to put in your drain plate cover back on. I've kind of practiced doing that. but I didn't know that they specified it. But it's a good book if you guys don't own it. I do highly recommend it. It's a Haynes book for the VW Beetle and Carmagia, 54 through 79. I referred to this a lot. But yeah, I gotta get back to work. Thanks for joining me today. Definitely, if there's any questions, please leave a comment down below. Yeah, be sure to subscribe, like, and hit that little notification bell so you guys can continue getting more updates on the buggy engine build. Keep shifting those gears, keep cruising, and always enjoy the ride. I'm out of here.
Before I was just another guy